Hi, good evening, everyone. Can you hear me? So I hear Claude has introduced today's session already via message, but I'll do so again. What we are going to do is first, I will go through the practical component that I had shared with everyone. Unfortunately, only about 5 or 6 of you have responded to it. No problem. I still suggest that everyone sort of goes through it. I'll share my screen when I'm going through it with the questions and some of the best answers that I got. And I'll highlight what I thought were common mistakes. Component of your entire course, 2 parts, where you will have to sort of select what you want to do, form teams of your own, and actually go out there, file RTIs, get information, and get on to drafting an actual PIL by yourselves that hopefully will be presented in court by an advocate for 2 issues. One being the Lokayukta matter, and the second being the issue of development plans by village panchayats. So I'll start with the practical component bit. I'll just share my screen with you. Roshan? Just 1 second. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is, I hope you can all see this on your screen, the practical component that was shared with you all. I will go through the questions and the answers with you. And the ones that have sent in your answers, you can see where you were right or wrong. And the others who have not, please learn from this, because you will need it for the actual practical component bit that you do after this. So first issue being, you go to Kalangut Beach for a walk one evening and notice some major construction activity going on in a plot that is situated about 150 meters away from the high tide line. You go around the property and notice a board put up informing you that the plot belongs to XYZ and that certain permissions have been granted for setting up a restaurant on that plot. The board discloses that the following permissions have been granted. A technical license from the Town and Country Planning Department. B, a construction license from the village panchayat. And C is a consent to establish a restaurant from the Pollution Control Board. I gave you certain legal information, which is that 0 to 200 meters from the high tide line on this is a no development zone as per the CRZ notification 2011. At first sight, what issues do you notice and what are the next steps to be taken? So these are some of the answers that I got, which were correct. First, the construction is within the NDZ and no permission has been granted by the GCZMA. That you know because the board does not disclose any permission from the GCZMA. What are the next steps to be taken? Verify exact location with respect to high tide line, check the progress of works, photographs with newspapers of the work going on and of the board at the site. And another answer that I got was RTIs. RTIs to be sent to the GCZMA, Village Panchayat, TCP and Pollution Control Board seeking details on what permissions have been granted. Additionally, inspections of files to see what has happened. This is all correct. Next, we go on to which authority would you address a demand for justice letter to? One answer is the GCZMA. Again, I think what has happened is with the question of demand for justice letter, a lot of people have given multiple authorities, some relevant, some irrelevant. In this case, GCZMA, of course, is one authority to write to. But I was just discussing with Norma before, and she made a very good point that here you may have multiple issues arising out of one situation, and each of those issues would have to be addressed to different authorities. So, for example, what I can see in this case, one, of course, is to the GCZMA saying that a construction is going on, no permission has been granted. In any case, no permission can be granted by the GCZMA for a restaurant here because it is in the NDZ. The other issue can be to write to, say, the Pollution Control Board here or the TCP department to say that you have granted permission in this area for an activity that is otherwise not permissible by the CRZ notification. asking them then to quash their permissions. Or if there is some activity going on there that is causing pollution, you can bring that to the notice of the Pollution Control Board as well. So it may not necessarily have to go only to one authority, but make sure that your demand for justice letter is pointed, and each issue that goes to each authority can be dealt by that authority. So your CRZ violation will go to GCZMA, any pollution issues will go to the Pollution Control Board, any TCP violations will go to the TCP department only. Don't copy each other's letters to each other, because they're not going to take action for something that is beyond their purview, right? Which court would you approach for relief? NGT, yes, because the CRZ notification falls within the ambit of the NGT. What relief would you seek from the court? This, I think everyone more or less got right. Demolition of the construction, restoration of the environment. You could also ask for quashing of the permissions that have been granted here. Now we move on to the second one. This is where a lot of you got one aspect wrong, one little trick question that I had put in. So many people got tricked. So the issue is this. On the news, you hear that a new road is being constructed through the middle of the Netravali Wildlife Sanctuary without any permissions having been granted by any authorities. And I gave you a little legal tidbit saying, as per the Wildlife Protection Act, no work can be carried out within a wildlife sanctuary without permission from the Chief Wildlife Warden, which has to be based on a recommendation of the Goa State Wildlife Board. Only work that would be beneficial to the wildlife or the management of the sanctuary can be permitted within the wildlife sanctuary. So at first, what issues do you notice? Only one person gave this very pertinent point, by the way. The road isn't beneficial to the wildlife sanctuary and therefore illegal as per the Wildlife Protection Act. The other things, of course, were illegal activity within a wildlife sanctuary and forested land. The related issues are likely to be large-scale tree felling, displacing wildlife from its habitat. What are the next steps to be taken? Record locations, take sufficient pictures with newspapers. RTI is sent to the applicable. Now, to the applicable authorities, I would say. I don't know necessarily if these would be the right authorities. Seeking permissions and inspection of files. The first authority would file RTIs with here would be the Forest Department, because that's your main authority who will have any permissions, any letters that are written from other authorities and so on will all be with the Forest Department here. So your first authority to approach would be the Forest Department. Next, which authority would you address a demand for justice letter to? Again, here your first and foremost demand for justice letter would have to go to the Forest Department. Apart from that, if there are any other related issues where other authorities could be involved, then you also write separate demand for justice letters to them. Don't just copy the same letter that you've written to the Forest Department to the other departments, say the PWD or even your village panchayat for that matter. Which court would you approach for relief? Now, this was the trick question, which also means if you got it wrong, you perhaps weren't listening very clearly to my NGT lecture, but that's okay. Which court would you approach? You would approach here the High Court and not the NGT, because the Wildlife Protection Act is not a part of Schedule 1 of the NGT Act, which gives you a list of all of the acts that fall under the jurisdiction of the NGT. So like I had told you earlier, largely most environmental issues go to the NGT, but you must pointedly note that the Wildlife Protection Act is not one of those acts. So be careful. Even if something seems like an environmental issue, you may not be able to approach the NGT for it. So for example, yeah, so this also I told you during the NGT lecture that even the Goa Trees Act is not before the NGT. So for tree felling issues also, you would have to go to the High Court and not to the NGT. So make sure you check the schedule of the NGT Act before you go rushing there for any relief. Then what relief would you seek from the court? Stop the construction, restore the area. Other ideas, of course, would be that if any trees have been felled, for them to use compensatory afforestation, perhaps that would maybe come under restoration of the area. And then the last issue was a TCP related issue. You live in Mapsa and are aware that a plot situated next to your house is zoned as a no development slope as per the regional plan. You go out of town for the weekend and return to find that half the plot has been leveled using JCBs. No board disclosing any permissions is visible at the site. Legal info is that no development can be permitted contrary to the regional plan. What are the issues you notice and what are the next steps? I think everyone got this TCP issue right. Unauthorized work is going on in a no development slope area, no traces of any approvals. Pick up the location, verify survey number, get this checked vis-a-vis the regional plan, very good answer. Take appropriate photographs with newspaper dates and so on. Which authority would you address a demand for justice letter to? Here, first and foremost, to the Town and Country Planning Department, because it is a violation of the regional plan, which comes under the ambit of the TCP. Which court would you approach for relief? Very simple, High Court. And what relief would you seek from the court? You would seek for restoration of the land to its earlier state and damages caused to the environment. Perhaps you could ask for relief in terms of what damage has been caused. You may ask for pecuniary damages to be imposed on the respondent. However, largely I think in PILs that may not happen, because the point of it would basically be more to restore the environment than to punish somebody for what has happened. And that is the end of these 3 questions that I had asked. If anybody has any, maybe something I have missed and you think is a good answer, feel free to still respond to these questions and I'll have a look at them. We can now move on to the next bit, which Norma will start with, which is on the Lokayukta issue. One sec. I'll just stop sharing my screen. And one sec. We'll make your screen now the main. Like you can see my screen. Also, now.
Oh, the blue thing, all right. Okay, then I can't see anybody.
You can't see. We can see you.
You want to see?
I don't know. I can't talk to a screen.
This is everyone.
Okay.
I think just you are on video.
All right, all right. Okay, so I am told there are 27 people participating in today's session. And well, today is exam day. You, like all these little kids who have been doing video lessons and so on, you've got part direct and part through video. So, well, Goa Foundation thinks that you are ready to file a PIL. Anamika has given you guys 80% from what I was hearing her comments, 80% checked good. And yeah, she says there are very few who didn't sort of follow any points. So the session today is about drafting a PIL. And it is not a mock exercise, if I am to believe the Goa Foundation director, who says that this is a PIL which is going to be filed if you do prepare it properly. So what we're going to do today is you are going to really speak and say what you think needs to be done, and then say who will do it. And I don't know how Claude is going to liaison with you guys to see that you've done it, but I think you have to liaison with each other. I hope you know each other and you know some telephone numbers and you can call people and ask them what they're doing. Let me not get ahead of myself. Let me tell you the problem. Now, this is a serious issue which, were it not for the PIL course, Goa Foundation would have filed this PIL. We would have gone to court on the issue. And the issue is this: the Lokayukta, which you have heard the lecture by Abhishek Abhijit Gosavi. He has told you how the Lokayukta is a forum which you can approach when you find that there is corruption, that there is misuse. Today's paper is carrying a huge, big article about how funds for COVID were used buying things at a higher rate than at a lower rate, and so on. Corruption is there. Now, the issue is if you find that there is a corruption by an individual and you want to uh, pursue that issue, then you can go to the Lokayukta, and the Lokayukta is a people-friendly forum. I know that myself because you see, when we went to the Lokayukta because of the mining matter, how were those large number of leases given on the same day within a short period and so on. Claude went carrying the files and along with it his lawyer, that was me. And I started and I explained and so on. And then at some point I needed to ask the petitioner, which we do even in the High Court. We asked the petitioner for some details, some question he asked me and I asked Claude. And the Lokayukta said to me that, madam, you can appear, but we can hear him directly because obviously he knew quite a lot. And as a lawyer, I am briefed to that certain extent. I know what I know in that matter, but I may not know much more than that. And then after that, I told Claude, you better argue this case because he's quite happy to hear you. You know the facts, it doesn't have to come through me and so on. I'm telling you this only so that you know that Lokayukta is an approachable forum. So that if in the future you do want to approach the Lokayukta, it's not a very difficult thing to do. It's not as intimidating as sometimes the High Court is. Now, the issue is not approaching the Lokayukta. What we have found out is that the Lokayukta does not have adequate infrastructure to carry out its tasks. Now, this has been reported in newspapers. This we have come to know, and we have heard that the Lokayukta himself has written to the government saying that I need facilities. I need some investigating team. I need some secretarial staff. He has, I think, one odd person who's there and then one or two odd people. But you need some adequate staff to run and to proceed with matters in a sort of earnest manner and quickly. Otherwise, everything is slow. If I, as a lawyer, had to do my filing, I had to go to court, I had to fund, there are objections, I would go back, everything goes much slower. So we engage somebody. I have a driver who takes me. I have somebody who does the stenography, somebody who takes the letters down, somebody who, the works. This is in any company. You cannot expect the CEO to do everything. So similarly, the Lokayukta is like the CEO. So he requires facilities. And we have heard that he has made several requests which the government has not answered. Because the government doesn't want institutions like the Lokayukta. Why would they want somebody to investigate corruption when the corruption is day in and day out? They're only hoping nobody finds them. But suppose somebody goes to the Lokayukta, they don't want to give it facilities. So everything goes slow. So the PIL that we think should be filed is to be filed to try and get these facilities for the Lokayukta. This is the scope of the PIL. I am giving you the subject of the proposed PIL. It's a real PIL. It's not going to be a fake PIL. It's not simply an exercise to mark you 8 on 10 or 10 on 10. Therefore, we are now going to see with your inputs, what are you going to do to file this PI? What is the first thing you will do and the second thing you will do and so on? And then who will do it? Okay. So there are 27 people here. I don't know if there's anybody else, but I am told that there are 25, 26, 27 people. How would you proceed if you were an organization, you were a group of 25, 20 odd people? How would you proceed to file this PI? Over to you guys. I'm not going to talk, but I hear something from somebody somewhere.
you all have the privilege to unmute your own mic. So if you have anything to say, you can unmute and speak. And if you are not speaking, please put your mic off. Thanks.
Madam, this is Arturo here.
Yeah, Arturo, please put your mic on because I can hear nothing.
You cannot hear now?
Yeah, I can't. We can't hear them.
What do I have to do? Just a moment, just a moment. We are trying to figure this out. Yeah, speak.
Hello?
Yeah.
Okay, can you hear me, madam?
Yes, I can hear.
I think we would have to get those letters, those several requests made by the Lokayukta. We will have to get a copy of that. Okay, and then I think under section, as I was reading the Goa Lokayukta Act, under section 8, if I'm not mistaken, the Lokayukta can appoint additional staff with
Yes.
the consent of the government. So I think is that okay if we take the number of requests and gauge the situation and accordingly draft the PIL?
You're ready to draft straight away?
I mean.
Okay. Walk me through it step by step. You said you got to get hold of the letters.
Yes.
How are you going to get hold of them?
I will have to under RTI. I will have to get hold of those letters.
Who will you make the application to?
The application would be, because it has to go to the government, right?
Which government?
Government of Goa, the Chief Minister.
Which department? Chief Minister? You think he'll answer you?
Or the Chief Secretary.
Chief Secretary, all right. Anybody, any other ideas? Yes, Savio. Is it Savio? No, who am I talking to you? Karan, okay, yeah, Karan.
Yeah, I just had a thought on what Arturo said. I think we probably don't even need to do RTI because the Lokayukta will be very receptive. He himself wants the staff. So some of us could just make an appointment to see him, say, this is what we plan to do. We understand you've been having a lot of difficulty getting infrastructure. We plan to actually file a PIL in the High Court. Can you give us supporting evidences? Which will include, of course, the letters that you've written to the government and anything else that you think would be helpful. Once we have that, then in this case, I don't think any demand for justice letters need to be written because effectively they've already been written by the Lokayukta. He's asked for this stuff and he hasn't had any reply. I mean, we could top it up with a letter to the same authority, to the Chief Minister or whoever he's written to, and say, look, we understand that the Lokayukta has written to you, you haven't replied to him, and we can wait for a little while. And if we also don't have a reply, then that will be further evidence for the file. But I think even that is probably not necessary. One can simply take the evidences he gives us, and then, as Arturo said, we actually just write out the PIL and fix a date for the court. That's my thought.
Okay. Anybody else? You've heard two people. Tell me if they're right, tell me they're wrong. Come on, you all gone to sleep or what? Nobody else? We can't see who's there, but I think, oh, Claude wants to see who is there. I can't recognize all of you. I know Rui, Ferreira, few people. Please turn on your videos. Let's see if you're sleeping, you're awake, you're with a glass of beer. What the hell you got? Nobody's talking. Come on. Rui is there, Susan Koshi, John Mendonça, Diana Simoes, Anand. Yeah, come on. What do you think? Who is right? Now, Arturo said that he was going to file an RTI to the Chief Minister, I think, or to the Chief Secretary. And Karan said, no need to do that. We can go and find out the answers. What do you think? Come on, we got two PILs. You can't go so slow. Susan, yeah.
No, I was initially following Arturo's line of thinking, and then I thought actually what Karan said makes sense. Perhaps why not use the same authority to whom he has already written his letters and take it forward. I might though give a little bit of time still to see if he responds. Now I'm still not sure whether it's the chief secretary or the chief minister. On that I don't have the information. So I would look for that.
Where would you look?
Where would I look? Where would I look? I would go to Norma or Claude and ask.
No, before that. Before that, we told you look for the law. Well, I remember I did tell you look for a lawyer, but you can look for the law. So let me get a slight summary at this point, because I don't want to move too fast. Let's get a few things done. I think what Karan said is a good idea. A group of you can go to the Lokayukta, introduce yourselves, say that you are part of this PIL course, and that you have come to know that there is not enough infrastructure, and that you intend to file a PIL because obviously you're not getting it through whatever means you have done. That much I go by. Now, whether he is simply going to give you the letters or whether he's going to tell you to file an RTI is a question, because he doesn't want to show his hand in glove with you. He's an authority after all. When we apply to, we go and meet, even we know some minister or something, what do they tell you? File an RTI and I'll give it to you. And what is the advantage? Is the chap. You get an RTI chap, that you have gone through the channels, that he's not your buddy, he's not your friend, he's not your neighbor whom you know, mashe dire, that doesn't work. So you talk to him, and the first thing is not to go by what I'm saying. I'm telling you he needs infrastructure. I don't know what infrastructure he needs. So you need to have a kind of discussion with him, telling him that you're going to file a PIL and getting a sense of what he wants. Okay, that's one. You need to then make the application under RTI for the documents. Now the Lokayukta will supply you documents under RTI because all authorities have got to give you the documents. You then check the law and find out who you have to make the complaint to. I don't agree with Karan that you can take his letters and proceed to High Court and say he didn't get a reply, so I've come to ask for it. That won't work. You, after you get your documents, you have to make a demand for justice. You cannot say that that man made the demand for justice, you didn't give it to him, so I presume you're not giving justice at all. I may not have stressed enough, but it's vital, very, very vital, before you go to anybody to make a demand. For you to say that I believe that this is a request, or this is infrastructure, this is something which needs to be done. You cannot rely on somebody else asking something and not getting it. So you would have to make a demand for justice letter. And I have not done really who it has to be, but I think Chief Secretary would be a good option, because it's the government and he's asking, after you peruse the letters and find out whom he has written to and so on, probably it will be to the Chief Secretary and so on. Nobody mentioned that you have to study the Act. Did anybody say we have to look at the Act and find out what sections, what provisions, is he entitled to it? Is he not entitled to it? Yeah, Karan.
Yeah, I just had a very quick look at the act, Norma.
Yeah.
From what I can tell, um, it sounds like it does need to be a kind of a consensual thing. There's no guarantee that he will get staff, but it does say that he can apply to the government, and the appropriate staff will then be sanctioned. Now, if it doesn't, I think, say what if the government and him disagree on what is appropriate. So I don't think there is a provision that he will definitely get 5 people or whatever. It just says, there will be an appropriate staffing as per his requirements on consultation with the government. That's my read of it. Now, I haven't read it very carefully, but that's my read of it. But if that is the case, I expect there will be a bit of difficulty, right?
So you're already finding the difficulty, but what's the answer? How are you going to win your case? Don't tell me you're going to come back and say, I lost it.
Maybe it's not a winnable case. That's what I'm saying. Maybe it is not a winnable case, or not an easily winnable case. I mean,
I tell
maybe
you
it's
a winnable case. Every
maybe
case is a winnable case. Every case is a winnable case. You may not get exactly what you want, but you must have something. But tell me, I found one very interesting word in your what you said, and the key word I thought was appropriate. The key to answering, if that's what you have found out, I don't know the Lokayukta Act fully. I'll be honest with you. I don't know. I'm going by what you say. Like you are my client and I'm hearing you. So if the key to it is appropriate, what are you going to do? I'm giving you one hint. The key is appropriate. Tell me what you're going to do.
I guess the thing to do is to find out what is appropriate in the sense that, so that will involve a detailed discussion.
What's appropriate?
Madam, can I intervene?
Yeah.
I've gone through the act. It says in section 34.
Just talk into mic, don't talk down.
Section 34 says power to remove difficulties, and the letters have to be addressed to the Legislative Assembly when it is in session, and then the Legislative Assembly will give a nod to it, and then it shall be taken up by the government.
Is that in relation to staffing, or is that in relation to other difficulties?
That is
difficulties could be
difficulties in the act.
In the act. Okay.
If any difficulty arises in giving effect to the provisions of the act. Now, he is not saying he is facing difficulty to implement the act. He is saying he wants infrastructure. I think Karan was on a right track there, insofar as he says that appropriate, it's negotiable and appropriate. So don't you think you got to make good that word appropriate?
Yeah.
You must therefore, I think, in your PIL, show that what he is asking for is appropriate. How will you get that?
Well, I suppose you would have to try and ask him how many cases have come in front of you, how much time has it taken, what were the difficulties, get a recorded transcript kind of thing.
Yeah, that you can get from him perhaps orally, because that you don't get an RTI. But you could also file an RTI saying, since the Lokayukta has been appointed, not only his term, you can go earlier. You can go from the time how many cases are taken up, how much of what is the staff infrastructure at present, what are the duties they have. You can do all this.
Yeah.
You got to make out your case for appropriate. He has asked. So do you see, Karan, why you can't just rely on his letter? He'll have written a letter saying, I require this. But you want to win your case. So you have to draft so that you are showing the authority, whoever you are going to file the case with, that it is necessary. Oh, by the way, who will you file this matter before? Who are you going to file it?
I guess to the same party that he's written the letters to.
No. We are going to take this matter as a case. No,
High Court.
Correct. High Court. So your job in your PIL is to convince the High Court that what he asked for was right. That you will not find in his letters. That you make out the case. Yeah.
If my reading of the law, my very quick reading, is correct, then I would be very surprised if his letters don't contain some justification for why he is demanding the number of staff that he demands in his letters and so on. So I expect we will get a lot of information from the letters, not just the fact that he's written a letter, but it will say, I need 2 investigators because I've done so many cases, da 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 da. So I think a lot of information may be in those letters.
Okay, finally you have said the word "may." First you said you'll be surprised if it's not there. I can tell you, any lawyer worth his salt will expect nothing and will expect the zero. And we start with saying that nothing may be there, but let's get it. So don't start expecting too much, but know what you want. I think that's the main thing I'm trying to emphasize, that you know. Now you decided you're going to meet him, correct? You're going to tell him that, sir, we have done this, we are going to file a PIL, we heard you have filed some letters and so on. I'm sure you can't ask him that, sir, did you make justification properly? Did you do this? You can't ask him that. Huh?
We will see once we get the RTI letters back.
Yeah, but then you're losing your conversation with him. You are gone to a meeting. RTI is going to come. He'll say you file a reply. I have written. Our judges are 60 plus or something. Nah, they think about all old folks. We don't even answer properly questions. So he'll say that, yes, I've written 3 letters, you know what it is. Then he'll start talking of something else. Then you have to bring him back to the subject. So you have to have a checklist of what you want. You have to have a checklist of what you want, and you have to ask him, and none of you are saying this, and I am unfortunately already saying it. You have to ask him which officer I can go to in your Lokayukta office to get this. He may tell you, go to so-and-so, he's got the record. You can ask him what records you all maintain, what kind of things. You got to get a sense of the Lokayukta in order to file the PIL. Remember I told you that when I do a case, I always make a site visit. I don't know if you remember that, but I stressed it and I said that I always make a site visit. Even though I do trust the Goa Foundation, who comes on the fact that there is devastation and there is this and there is that. But unless you can feel the thing, you have a sense of how it is going, you cannot really put a PIL, because you must know where the shoe pinches. You must be thinking that I am the Lokayukta and this is my problem. Therefore, saying that what he said, I'll take and I'll get a report, no, it won't work. You have to be able to feel what the Lokayukta is experiencing in order to prepare your PIL. So we have got so far, I think, 3 steps. We have got that somebody is going to visit the Lokayukta. You're going to have a series of information that you want to extract out of him verbally. You want to get a sense of directions as to which people in his office might be able to provide it. You're going to ask him these kind of questions, and then you're going to file an RTI, and you're going to get the letters that you want. So it means that you will know the dates of the letters or something like that, you will know. And even if he gives you the letter in your hand, please make the RTI. Because as I told you, the RTI shows your independence from the whatever you're trying to get from the authority and not a collusion. You don't want to put the Lokayukta in an embarrassing position that he just gave you letters like that. So you must make the RTI and then you will get your letters. So now you have your letters. Let's assume you got your RTI. Or before you get your RTI, because that may take a little time, may not take, he may give it to you soon. You're also going to write your demand for justice, correct? You're going to write a demand for justice based more or less on the information you have, not on the RTI, not on the letters, but on your own understanding. You're going to make a demand for justice to the government, Chief Secretary. Right now, I don't know who else. I think Chief Secretary is best. Asking for better infrastructure from the for the proper and good functioning, effective functioning of the Lokayukta, a very important institution which deals with public corruption and so on. You will draft a nice letter so that they understand that you are serious, bona fide crusaders. Let's put that way. Okay. Now, after you have got this stuff. Now, what is the next thing you're going to start doing? Come on, Rui. I cannot hear anything from you. Let's hear Rui. Let's hear Anthony D'Souza, Heta, Raymond. What do you do now? About, say, 15 days are gone by with you going, coming, etc. Have you found a lawyer or are you going to argue in person? What do you think? All are smiling at me. Don't come to me, huh? I'm not taking these cases. Have you found somebody? Or are you going to look for a lawyer? Come on.
I mean, since this would be my first sort of entry into this world, I think I would rather have a lawyer with whom I could work closely and actually and have the experience of what it takes to move this forward and in whatever direction is this. So I think I would look for a lawyer.
How many of you all go with her? Okay, many people are with you. I think it's a good idea too, because remember, you want to win the case. This is not a mock trial. This is not a BA exam or a LLB exam where you can get marks. You got to get a result. So you are already really raw, I would say very raw. So you will get a lawyer. Do you have any quick lawyer in mind?
You.
All right.
I guess before, yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think what kind of a lawyer. I'm even starting from zero. What kind of a lawyer? I'm not even sure about that.
You don't need an environment lawyer.
Right.
You need somebody who knows the Lokayukta and can also go to the High Court. Come on, give me a name quickly.
Gosavi.
Correct. He offered also.
Did he?
Correct. He offered to help you guys. So, if I were you, I would go to Gosavi. Because I really personally don't have that much experience in the Lokayukta, though I know I can file, I can argue. But Gosavi knows the Lokayukta. Whatever shortcomings you have had in the information, he would know to find out. As I'm telling you, this is not a mock exercise. This is a real exercise. So let's say you think that Gosavi is there. So don't you think you would, yes?
Just a quick question about that. Now, I think Gosavi sort of indicated to us that he has been on the opposite side in the Goa mining case in relation to the Lokayukta.
Yeah.
Would he, therefore, if he was to be approached by a group like us, asking for more resources for the Lokayukta, although he seemed like a very good guy who knew the Lokayukta and seemed like a good lawyer who knew his stuff as well,
yeah.
Would he possibly be reluctant because the government might not view that very well, and the government is his big employer from the sound of it. And here he is trying to get the Lokayukta beefed up, which will make it more difficult for the government in future cases to defend themselves.
See, a government lawyer is the government lawyer?
I think
if he's a government lawyer, he won't take up the matter.
Yeah, he said I can't really comment on you know, for example, where that particular mining case goes from here because he has an interest in it. Now the only defendants there were all government employees, right? They were ex-chief minister and 2 government servants or something.
No. See, if he's representing mining companies, ex-chief minister and 2 somethings, if they have hired him in a private capacity, he's a private lawyer. It's very simple. You have to find out if he's a government lawyer. There's a panel of lawyers.
Right.
All lawyers,
How do you find out?
ask him. He can't lie. He can't lie on that. He won't lie on that. See, there are certain lawyers, like the Advocate General. The Advocate General's office has got staff. The public prosecutors, they are paid for their work by the government. They are government lawyers. But if the chief minister has been involved in some defamation case or something is filed, and he hires a senior counsel from Delhi who comes all the way, that guy is he's not a government lawyer. He's a private lawyer. He's taking up the case.
In a case like the Goa mining case,
yes,
would the government have hired a lawyer for these government employees, or would the employees be expected to hire their own lawyer?
normally, if they are in personal capacity, they would have been expected to hire their own lawyers. But if it's in an official capacity, they could have used the official machinery. I suggest, I don't know the answers, you can ask him. Ask him. Now, the first point that you mentioned is that would the government be willing to give these things when he is fought on opposite mining and so on? See, you're not asking the government for anything. You are asking the judge.
No.
Okay.
My question was more about whether he would be willing to do it, given that his
But
income
that
is
you
at
ask
stake.
him, no?
Yeah,
you
his
ask
income
him.
is
I
at
can't
stake.
give you an answer to him. If he is not there, then you find another lawyer. Ask Anamika if she'll appear. She's also there. Okay. I'm just giving you a sense of somebody who knows the Lokayukta well, who's your best bet, I think. He also offered to help. So that's why I went for it also. But you can get another lawyer. You don't need an environment law. There's no environment law involved. There's just plain tables and chairs and staff involved. That's what you want. You want a fax machine. You want some telephone. You want this kind of stuff. I don't know what he wants. Honestly, I'm blank. I don't know what he wants. But he wants something in the nature of infrastructure to assist him. Okay. After this, you got a lawyer now, tentative, if not him, somebody else, X, Y, Z. You've explained the problem. He has said, okay, he's going to tell you, get me all these things. Now, along with getting these various papers and letters, RTI and so on, I told you that it is always good, instead of leaving him to draft the petition, I told you, put it down. Put down what you think, what you feel, and what you want. So the next step would be, which you all have jumped right in the beginning, would be to draft the petition. Okay, quickly tell me, because I don't have that much of time, my session is almost getting over. Quickly tell me, what are the points you're going to put down in when you're drafting the petition? Quick. Start with what? Array, y'all people have forgotten everything.
Start with a summary of what the situation is and what you want.
Opening paragraph which gives a summary of the issue. Then
the facts.
Yes. No, you've forgotten all those declaration. Please check that you are not in any way involved in any personal litigation. Nobody's connected with it. All those things. You got to go and get the PIL format and put it down. Okay.
Wouldn't the lawyer take care of all of that?
Huh?
No.
Format will get you. Yeah. That you ask Claude or somebody. We have the format. Okay. You all have the format. Okay. Then facts. How are you going to start your facts? Come on, quickly, recount.
So very simple. He's written a letter on such and such date, such and such date, such and such date, saying that he wants things. He hasn't had any kind of reply. So many years have passed. Okay.
All right. Then you will go to grounds. What grounds you will make out? You'll have to look at the section.
Act says that he's entitled to appropriate number of staff depending on the amount of work, etc.
Then remember all your justification. You have to bring out your justification. All the number of cases. Now tell me all that information. Do you think you'll put it in the petition or an annexure? Think about it. You cannot make the petition filled with numbers which don't give you a good sense. So if you're getting lots of information, consider a table. 2004, the thing is set up, so many cases, so many disposed of, so many not done, so much of something, whatever. Think about it. Tables are very, very useful to put it in a proper sort of format, because when you write, sometimes the paragraphs become very long and you don't get a comparison. If you're trying to do a comparison, a system of showing how many cases there are and how much is done and so on, then a table is a good chance. Sometimes we even write the whole petition and then we take out the paragraphs and make them into a table. Then it's sort of getting chaotic. Okay, and then your reliefs. All right, draft it so that you can take it to your lawyer. Now, I believe I am also supposed to try and get from you who's going to do what. Please volunteer. I am told that if you don't volunteer, you will be assigned to the task and you might not like what you got. So, step one, who is volunteering to go and meet the Lokayukta? 2-3 people are required.
I can go.
Who?
Rui
Rui is willing to go.
Yeah.
Arturo is willing to go.
I can go.
Karan is willing to go. All right, let's say 3 people. Who's going to do the RTIs?
I can do it.
Who's the I?
Rui
Rui. Okay. Somebody else, please help him. Please be with him, because you need to get practice.
I'd like to join. Susan.
Susan will do RTIs.
Yeah, I'll work with Rui on the RTI.
That means you got to make the RTI, you got to follow it up, you got to go and inspect if need be, you got to get the document and you got to get everything done.
Yeah.
All right. Who's going to draft the letter to government? Demand for justice.
I can do that with someone.
Karan can do it, but I want somebody else. Someone else at least who not.
I can do it too.
No, Rui, you wait. You've got already 2 things. Somebody else. Anthony.
I'll work with Karan.
Who said something? I'm sorry.
Anthony.
So Anthony will be with Karan, responsible for getting a letter done to the government, demand for justice letter. Now we have the drafting of the PIL. Okay, who's going to meet the lawyer? Harmo?
I need somebody senior with me to.
Harmo, I can't hear you.
I said I need somebody senior. I can be with Karan in drafting the PIL.
Okay, Karmo, before I come to Karmo drafting the PIL, 1 minute, somebody has to go and meet the lawyer. Find out
Where's his office? Where is his office? Gosavi's office.
Pato. Panjim. We'll give you a telephone number, you find out.
Okay.
2-3 of you can just go and meet the lawyer. You see why 2-3 are good? Because if one fellow forgets some point that somebody can remember. Okay? Rui says he'll go. Is that it?
Yeah. I can go.
With somebody else?
Then I'll team up with Rui.
Karmo?
Yes, with Rui.
Okay, Rui and Karmo will go. And Alvin is here. There's an Alvin over here who says he'll go. Okay, they have got 3 names down. They're taking down, no? Okay. Now you got drafting. Let's take 3-4 people, because you need a little bit of Karan willing to go for drafting?
Yeah.
He's doing many things, but I still want somebody who's got little confidence along with others.
I can be one of them.
Karan can be. Rui, you're willing to do?
Yeah, okay, done.
Okay. Karan, Rui. Now come on. Now 2-3 other people. Karmo said yes.
I said yes, yeah.
Yes, Karmo said yes. 3. One more.
Meeting the lawyer and drafting.
Arturo saying yes. All right. 4 people you got up to drafting. We got now a good team who's going to meet the Lokayukta, who's going to write the demand for justice to the government, who's going to get under RTI the documents, who's going to meet a lawyer and find out if you have a lawyer. If you don't get him, try to find somebody else, and you got somebody who's going to, a team who's going to draft the petition. Rui is doing 4 out of the 5. I don't mind, but if anybody else wants to replace him somewhere, please tell me. Otherwise, your names are fixed in gold. You can't move.
Can we just repeat those names so that
Okay.
everyone knows?
Anamika, just put, get the names out.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah. That goes
One second.
softly.
Okay, so these are the teams. For meeting the Lokayukta, we have Rui, Arturo, and Karan. For filing the RTIs, we again have Rui and Susan. For the demand for justice letter, we have Anthony and Karan. For meeting the lawyer, again, we have Rui, we have Carmo, and we have Alvin. And then finally, for drafting of PIL, we have Carmo, Karan, Rui, and Arturo. Have I missed anybody?
No.
Or does anybody else volunteer?
Mine is fine.
Fine,
Yeah?
fine. Perfect.
Okay.
Susan is saying.
No, yeah, I was just wondering, do we need continuity in people who carry a sense of the whole picture from beginning to end?
Useful.
Huh?
It is useful.
Yeah.
I see Karan and Rui as carrying the sense through, frankly. I mean, we put different people, but I'm sure that you cannot work in isolation. You can't say, I don't know anything about this. I'm sure he's going to talk to and have a sense of the whole thing going through. But unless we give everybody a chance to do some things, because then in the end, it is like 8 people being involved in this PIL. Once you do the RTI, you will want to know what happened, and it sort of goes on like that. Okay?
I'll just add one more thing.
Yeah.
See, the people, all of you who are doing different things in different groups, you will sort of have to compile all of the data you get into some sort of note that can be taken by the next team. Right? So, for example, you have people who are going to meet the Lokayukta. Somebody will have to sort of put into written form what all you discussed, what were the questions you asked the Lokayukta, what were the kind of responses you got, what were your thoughts, if there are issues that you thought maybe didn't come up at that time. That can be taken by the people who are writing the demand for justice letter, right? Because the demand for justice letter will essentially have to be based on your meeting with the Lokayukta as well as the information you get from the RTI. The people who are writing the demand for justice can't do it in a vacuum, right? So make sure the people who go meet, or say Susan, whatever information you get from the RTI, you have a full file, you may have many documents. So you will sort of have to, apart from obviously just physically getting the documents, you will have to study them and sort of get a sense of what is there in it, what is the information you can extract from that to save the people who are doing the drafting and the demand for justice letter, save them some time, right? So they can look at your note and sort of pick up from there. That way you also have something that everyone is sharing. So it's not 1 or 2 people who have a sense of what is happening, but all of you can be involved in every stage in some way or the other.
But I think we need anchor persons for this team would be Karan and Rui, I think. Because they would have to, check on has this been done, where is it reached, has something been done here or not. So these 2 would be your anchor persons for this first PIL. Okay, so I think I will get off on this for the moment. And please feel free to contact me if you're in any sort of difficulty. I will try to certainly help out. And because you're my baby project, first project, I can't fail. Hey. Anamika, come on.
Okay. So, I can speak. Should I reduce this? Okay, so now for the second exercise, we'll hopefully go a little faster because Norma has done most of the explanation. You know what is expected of you. It's the only thing is that your situation will be slightly different. Now, please, I really request all of the people who have stayed largely silent through the Lokayukta session to now speak up. because the same people who have volunteered for the Lokayukta bit cannot obviously volunteer again. Right? So now don't leave me hanging, don't leave me without any volunteers, please, please. Because then it'll just look like Norma did a great session and I failed. Right? So please, I request you. Okay. So now the issue is this. All village panchayats have to come up with their own village development plans. To the best of our knowledge, no village panchayat in Goa has done so. Because of this, no village development plans can be implemented or enforced. And in a sense, the village panchayats are not taking all of the power that they have been granted, all of the decentralized power that the village panchayats have to decide what happens in their village, what sort of development can be permitted in their village and not, and how their village will develop, is now being not decided by the village panchayats, but is being decided on a larger scale, right? So what we want is that each village panchayat, and this has to be done every year, right? Annual. So now the next PIL that will have to be filed is for a direction to all village panchayats to create their village development plans. So again, we will have the same issues. We will sort of have a similar linear pattern of functioning. What's the first thing you would do? Please, anybody. Yeah, I think Atura is raising your finger.
Just a little correction. I think Santa Cruz has submitted its village development plan.
Can you repeat that?
Santa Cruz village panchayat. We have submitted our village development plan.
Okay, great.
Yeah, but unfortunately, it's not happening. People, they are not sanctioning them. We have even taken the services of the video, like the engineer, to get its approval. We've got approvals, but nothing is happening beyond that.
Okay, great. So now we get additional information here that I was wrong. Not all village panchayats have failed to create these plans. It seems some village panchayats have in fact come up with their plan, but they are not being implemented. So you have two issues. First issue being that there are some village panchayats that have not created a plan. Second issue being even where they have done so, they're not being able to implement them. So these are your two problems. So what would you do next? How would you sort of find out more information about this? Yeah, Karan? You'll have to unmute yourself.
RTI in relation to seeing the file for village development plans for a section of villages, maybe say half a dozen villages.
And who would you file this RTI with?
With the secretary of the panchayat.
Okay.
You want to see the file which shows all the papers for the village development plan. Obviously, if there's no plan, you make a note of that. If there's no file, you make a note of that. If there is a file and there is a plan, then if there's no document which shows that it's been implemented, you make a note of that. Basically, you peruse the files and get all the facts in relation to a sample subsection of villages. Maybe that's the first step.
So you would go to each panchayat and look for their development plans, if any, correct?
Yes.
Okay, anything else? Say, for example, you go to a village panchayat and like Arturo said, you find that there is a development plan. What do you do then?
Well, you ask to see the full file, right? And then if there is a plan, you obviously ask for a copy of that plan, but you also, or you take a photograph of it or whatever. And then you also go through the rest of the file to see whether it's been implemented, whether there are any documents which indicate that it has been implemented or not been implemented. And then you ask for copies of those.
That it has not been implemented. Then?
If you find it's not been implemented, then you've got all the data. You know which villages have no plan at all. You know which villages have got a plan, but it's not been implemented. And you've got copies of those documents that indicate that. Next thing is demand for justice letter, right?
Okay, one second. Okay, so Karan says we go to each village panchayat secretary, we file RTIs, and we see whether there is a village development plan. If there is, whether it is being interesting. So Claude has another question for you. The village development plan will be made by a village development committee. Would you look into who this committee is, how they were appointed? Is it there at all? Is there a committee for something like this? So essentially, I think this will sort of tie into what Karan said, which is that you look for the entire file, because that file will have a plethora of information which should cover all of this. Apart from that, what else would you do? Now, somebody apart from Karan, please answer. Everyone's got their thinking faces on. Any thoughts?
Write to the director of Panchayat,
Okay.
and you will get a holistic view of the status of all the panchayats in one go.
What will you get from that?
The status of the development plans of all the panchayats through one office, sort of.
Okay, that's another good option. Would you maybe go to each village panchayat and ask them what their problems are? The same way that you are going to the Lokayukta, for example?
Can I speak?
Yeah, yes, please.
I just feel that you should file with respect to one panchayat and try and get a precedence which would apply to all the panchayats.
You're muted.
I just feel that you should file a PIL with your own panchayat. For example, Saligaon in my case. First find out who is on the committee, on the VDC, then find out whether VDC is active or not, then find out whether there is a development plan for the village or not. And then if there is not, then file a PIL against my own Saligaon Panchayat. Try and get a precedent. If I get a precedent that will apply to all the village panchayats in Goa, why do I need to go to 20 panchayats?
That's a good idea, actually. But if we can here for this purpose, maybe we want to look at multiple panchayats together.
Hello.
Because see, the issue here is not that one panchayat or two panchayats are not doing this, but it's a large scale issue where nobody is doing it. So if I go to court, for example, and say, instead of just saying that my village panchayat is not doing this, I go there and I say 20 village panchayats are not doing this. You have a large scale governance issue, right? Which is not particular just to one panchayat. Of course, you could do it for your one panchayat, get a precedence, and then hope that somebody else will go to their panchayat and do the same exercise. Right? It won't necessarily automatically happen that all village panchayats will start creating their development plans.
But it's not a bad idea.
It's not a bad idea.
It's not a bad idea to start at one panchayat. Take the one panchayat if they are willing to take a single one and find out how they would go to that panchayat. Can be qualified. Why send them all around?
File a PIL only for one panchayat.
File a PIL for one panchayat. It's not a bad idea at all.
Karan,
yeah, in that PIL, which is against one panchayat, in the prayers, you could say one of the things that I pray for is a direction that this should be going out to all panchayats, this order. Anyone who's not prepared, not just this panchayat, needs to do the same, even though the example you've given is just of one panchayat.
You can definitely do that, yeah.
Yes, you can limit it to that. How would you go pick a panchayat and go about it?
I'd say, or maybe pick two panchayats.
Okay.
I think some panchayats have a plan.
Yeah.
You have two issues. One is that some are not making a plan. The other is that where we have a plan, it's not being implemented. take up those two issues, take up 2 example panchayats, and then sort of take it forward. Those are great suggestions. Now, so who would want to volunteer? Who has information about their panchayat, knowing whether they, okay, let's take it one issue at a time. Let's pick one panchayat that we know does not have a development plan. Any volunteers? Heta, since this was your idea, would you want to maybe volunteer for this?
I can do it for Saligaon.
Okay, so let's say for panchayats that do not have a development plan, our example now is Saligaon. Okay, so let's take it one step at a time. So we have Saligaon that does not have a development plan. So for this now, again, we need teams. We need a team to go meet with your panchayat, your panch members, your secretary, and so on, and speak with them to find out why this issue has come up. Who wants to volunteer for that? Are there any other people from Saligaon here? No? Rita, do you know anybody, any of your neighbors here who are here?
Not here.
Okay, you don't have to be from Saligaon. It's fine.
Even Mapsa, someone who's there.
No, but they can go to the
I just want somebody to go down get the information.
You don't have to be from Saligaon to volunteer for this.
I'll join Heta. Susan, I'll join Heta for this.
Right. So we have Susan and we have Heta. Anybody else? Like I said, some people who have not already volunteered, please volunteer. You're making me look bad.
I'm from the Sangolda Panchayat.
Okay.
Can I volunteer for Sangolda?
Do you want to volunteer for Sangolda?
Yeah. They had some kind of a plan, but it doesn't seem in line with the guidelines of whatever I've read. So I'm aware.
You're saying Sangolda has a VDC?
It seems like that they have a VDC, but it doesn't seem online or in line with whatever I've read from the book.
Okay, fair enough. All right. So we have Saligaon and we have Sangolda. We have Anthony who is volunteering. Anyone who wants to help Anthony with this?
Karan lives in Sangolda.
You don't have to be from Sangolda. Roshan wants to know if anybody here is a member of the VDC in their panchayat. You are? And
So Alvin, you can go and help out, man, to find out at least information.
No, so
We have formed a VDC.
one second. Why don't you come here and speak?
Just tell them.
So we are very fortunate that we have Alvin here, who is a member of his village's VDC, and Roshan is also there. Now we are volunteering. Okay, so we're gonna have Alvin here to sort of give us some inside gossip.
Tell him what is happening with that VDC.
Hello everyone. Since we had a lot of corruption in Asagaon village, the punch members were not listening to the people there, Gram Sabha. So the village, so the members, some of the Gram Sabha members decided to have the village development committee. So like on this grounds, like we have the garbage collecting committee or something else like that. So I'm part of the village garbage committee. So we have selected some of the members. It was just before the COVID thing. So after that, we couldn't come together. So we have around each suppose is the garbage development head. So we have around 3 to 4 members in that, on one head. So there are other members also in that particular list. But we have not come across the table till date because of the COVID thing. It was just before December.
Does your village have a development plan?
We have a development plan. We have a development plan. It's displayed there. It's displayed there on the wall. But whether it is implemented, I'm not sure.
Okay, so yeah, I think I can be heard. Basically, the development plan, okay, the VDC plan that they make will be a document of around 200 to 300 pages put into a file. So in that you have a lot of exercise which actually goes in forming this plan. Like you will have resource, on-site, what do you call them? They go on site and they get details. So you'll have all those reports put in. Then you'll have the village map. Then you'll have the meetings that are conducted by different sectors of people in the village. So you'll have a farmers meeting, you'll have a youth meeting, and whatever they said, whatever they want, all that will be put into the plan. So actually that plan it cannot be a one paper thing, it's a process. So I'll tell you the main thing what I have found in Kangulim village. I am also part of the VDC as one of the interested people who would like to be part of a VDC. That's how I was part of it. I remember Dr. Cloud speaking about the 73rd Amendment, wherein it scheduled a lot of things were to be done by the village panchayat and through the VDC. So what has happened now in the VDCs, they are limiting us to do only certain things. We cannot plan the land use. We cannot plan, what is to be coming into our village in the terms of development. What is given to the VDC is, do you want drainage? Do you want any road over here? Do you want, some small things to be done? So, it becomes a very poor plan. And what people find that after going through the entire process of, meeting people and then you come up with these small petitions, so they lose interest. So I would suggest in this PIL, if we are filing, we should make sure that the VDC is given complete powers to do what it's supposed to do, not half and bits and pieces. So this is my request to be included in the PIL. Okay. Another thing is when we said that we are going to go to each panchayat to get the documents, I would rather suggest that all the panchayats who make their plan have to submit it to the BDO. So why don't we go to the BDO and file an RTI asking the list of those panchayats who have filed the development plans, and we can have an inspection of all the plans in one place. We don't need to take copies of all of it. We can just ask for inspection. We'll know what's happening. So this is my suggestion that for the RTI as well as to implement the entire schedule for the VDC working.
Roshan, can I just ask a couple of questions?
Karan has a question, yeah.
Yeah. Is it specified somewhere, either in the Goa Panchayat Raj Act or somewhere else, what format exactly the plan needs to take and what the responsibilities, the exact responsibilities of the Village Development Committee are? Because if it isn't specified in the law anywhere, then in your PIL, how are you going to get someone to adjudicate and judge that in fact the law has been violated here?
No, there are specific guidelines that have been notified.
2016.
In 2016, I heard that Claude had discussed.
Gazetted notification is there.
There is a notification which has guidelines on how everything has to be done. So you can look at that notification.
I'll share it today.
Roshan will share it again. Okay, so anyway, after hearing, all of the ideas that everyone has had, we've decided to slightly change our plan of action, so to speak. Instead of jumping directly for a PIL, we are going to first be doing a bit of a fact-finding exercise. Okay, because see, from this, what I'm gathering is that we aren't really sure what villages have a development plan, which don't have a development plan, one. B, we have found out that apart from just the mere implementation of the development plan, there may be some additional issues. So now this is an opportunity for all of us, including me, to learn more about this and also save me from having to find volunteers from this very, very unwilling crowd, is that we are going to force each and every one of you to participate. So what you have to do now is all of you have to look and at your own village panchayat and do a bit of a fact-finding report for us. So you go to your village panchayat. If there are multiple of you from the same village panchayat, you can do this together. So for example, if there is somebody from Saligaon who was silently hiding, please get in contact with Hita and go with her to find out about your village panchayat. Everyone do this for your own. Go there, find out, is there a VDC? Is there a plan? If the plan is put up, get a copy of the plan. As Roshan said, it will be a thick booklet or so. Get the entire thing via RTI. Study it. Look at the guidelines. Where there is a plan, compare that plan with the guidelines. See if everything has been done as it should be. Speak to your punch members. Ask them what their problems are. And make a little report. That report should tell us what is the status of this entire VDC in your village. So think about it, if everybody does it for their own village panchayats, by the end of this, we should have so many reports for us to easily locate what is the status of the VDCs in each panchayat. And from there, then we can sort of extract and see what we need to go to court about. Instead of just doing a haphazard sort of thing and rushing to court, let's first get all of our information in these reports, because additional from what we think right now are the issues, there could be more. There could be something completely different that we need to approach court for. So first, we will approach. There is definitely a problem here that needs sorting out. We just need to first pinpoint what those problems are. And say, for example, even if we were to take Hita's example, which is a very good one, and say we file the PIL only for one village. Tomorrow, if the court does ask you, are there other similar villages? It will be so easy for us to just take our reports, extract from that, and quickly give them a list of village panchayats that do have a VDC, that have a plan, village panchayats that don't have a plan, what is the status? And then, like Karan said, we can get a direction to all of those village panchayats. So essentially, the point is right now, we need to do a fact-finding exercise. And for that, I need everybody here involved. You have all now got the skills to do this properly. Everyone knows how to file an RTI. You know which authorities to file these RTIs with. Everybody here is well versed enough to go to your own panchayat, speak to them. Always good to know who your punch members are. See what kind of decisions they want to make for your village. Speak to them, find out what the problems are, put it all down in this report, and then we will study those reports and come up with the next plan of action. So I'm not going to pick volunteers. We have a list of all the participants. How much time do you think you would need for this?
One quick question. How do you get to meet punch members? I mean, I've been to the panchayat a few times, but every time I go, there's never any punch member there. I mean, on the odd occasion, the sub-panchayat. Sorry?
You'll have to meet the secretary of your panchayat.
Yeah, he's often there, yeah.
Yeah. So you can pick your own deadline. How long do you think you need for something like this? See, the filing RTI is maybe too little. Yeah. By 15 September? No, that's less. I'd say give them 5 weeks.
2 weeks are enough, I think. 2 weeks.
I think when you file an RTI, they have 30 days to reply, right?
Exactly. So see, the point is not just to meet them. You want official information as well. And then you need time to study that information. Don't just get the information and dump it to me, please. I want a report from everybody. I want you to study that information and see what you derive from it. Yeah, Susan?
While I understood why we needed to file an RTI in the previous case, in this case, I'm not following the reasoning of why are we filing an RTI. If I'm a member of my village, can I not approach the village, the panchayat, and seek these documents? So I'm trying to follow why are we applying for an RTI here?
See, you can definitely seek a copy of these documents by virtue of being a member of the village. Yes. But what if they give you 3 out of 5 documents? Right? The RTI is the law that gives you a legal basis to get every document. Of course, go there, demand the documents, get whatever you can. Some panchayats may not be willing. So you want inspection of the files.
Okay.
You may have panchayats that are very cooperative and give you everything firsthand. But you may have situations where they don't give it to you. And the only way you will know whether you have got everything that is on the file is by inspecting the file. Okay, so I am giving everyone a deadline of 5 weeks from today. So you have a basic 4 weeks in case you're filing RTIs and you want to get information and so on. And then you have a grace period of 1 week to study all of that, make your report, and get back to us. And then we'll sort of take it forward from there, because there is a PIL to be filed on this as well. So not only will you eventually file that PIL, but I think in the meanwhile, we will learn a lot about how the panchayats function and where they have issues and where they're lacking. And I think that's it. So please submit your reports, take on this exercise. If you're running into problems, you can contact us if RTIs are not being responded to and so on. But take the first step, go meet your secretary and file the RTIs as soon as possible. Karan, you have a question.
Yeah, Anamika, just a practical question. When you submit an RTI request, you have to pay a 10 rupee fee, right? Is there the option to pay that in cash, or do you always have to buy these stamps and stick it on the letter? Is that compulsory?
You can't pay it in cash because it's sort of like a stamp fee that you're paying. It's not money that goes to your panchayat in cash. So you either have to put those stamps, or I think you can get a postal order. Some of the stamps are the easiest. You can't pay cash.
Is there only one kind of revenue stamp, or is there a special RTI revenue stamp?
No, it's like a port fee stamp.
Port fee stamp.
Yeah, it's a revenue stamp, sorry.
Right. No, I guess the question was, if I go to a shop which sells stamps, do I need to specify a particular kind of stamp, or do I just say revenue stamp and there's one type of revenue stamp, that's it?
Revenue stamp. There's no specific RTI stamp.
And it is 10 rupees. Yeah?
I mean, just to be sure, Roshan is suggesting that you inform them that you needed to file RTI so that you get the right stamp.
They are court fee stamps of 10 rupees.
I don't think you are. Arturo, you were saying something?
They are court fee stamps of 10 rupees.
Court fee stamp.
And you can also say that you're filing an RTI and you can take a receipt for it by paying cash.
Sorry, I didn't understand that.
You can say that you're filing an RTI, and wherever you're filing an RTI, take a receipt of 10 rupees from from where you're, whichever office you are asking for an RTI.
All you get by way of receipt is a stamped copy of your letter, right?
Yeah, you get a receipt, and then you get a receipt saying that you have the receipt is for filing the RTI.
I don't completely understand.
If you're going to the village panchayat asking for an RTI, you say that I'm filing an RTI and I don't have stamps, so I'm paying that money in cash. So they will pull out a receipt for you for that RTI.
Okay, that's actually what my question was. You can do it in cash.
Yes, you can.
Right. Okay.
No, Anamika got done it. But what happens is when you pay the balance money, for an RTI, suppose you have to pay 30 rupees. They will take your 30 rupees in cash.
No, I'm talking about the initial 10 rupees.
Correct. But even for that, it means that for the application also, they will take, because the panchayat has got a facility for receipt of money and giving you a receipt. So they will take your 10 rupees, give you a receipt for it, and later on, if you want more to be paid, they will take that also and give you a receipt for that. Arturo is correct.
Okay, I was wrong. I'm sorry. I'm learning to.
Yeah, because she is a lawyer. They keep, in their purse, they keep so many stamps, court fee stamps. Because they're all the time taking out for affidavits, 1 rupee stamp, court fee stamp, this, that. So they are accustomed to dealing with court fee stamps. And normally, if you are an RTI activist, you in your purse, you will have about 10 stamps. Okay, and then, so that is normal because it's cheaper and faster. Because if you ask the village secretary to make a 10 rupee receipt, he will, so all he will put a complete history, then he will find a book, then he will write down very elaborately the 10 rupees, and you'll be beating your head saying, why can't you just give it to me very slow? As a practical point of view, you keep on 10 rupees stamps with you and putting them on your application wherever you. I mean, these are all practical things where as you do them, you get more and more expert, and you'll be able to manage. Now tomorrow we are opening the website at 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock because we are very. I don't know whether after today's session there was some participation and volunteering and all that. But tomorrow, by tomorrow, I don't even know whether people have sent in questions because we have said that some questions have come. So she says only 2 or 3 questions have come. So from 5 o'clock tomorrow onwards, you can put in whatever queries you want to be given to the panel of lawyers. That is Advocate Carlos Pereira, Norma Alvarez, and Shivan Desai. 3 people will be there to answer any of your questions on all the things that have happened during this course, and we'll give you replies so that by the time we finish at 7 o'clock, you should be, having a sense of satisfaction that all your queries were taken care of. So these 3 people are experienced enough from environmental law, from constitutional law, and also from other laws like the Lokayukta and all. They will answer every question that you have. And at 7 o'clock we should be able to conclude. It may go on till 7:30 because this the chairperson of it will be Carlos Alvarez Ferreira, but he will be in Corjuan. He is in Corjuan. And we will be in Mapsa. And Shivan Desai will be in Panjim because he's got a young kid in the house. So you cannot leave him and go. So it's a very diverse type of an arrangement of the panel in 3 different places. And Roshan will be here in the office, and so he will be masterminding all the questions and the facilities and so on. So be ready tomorrow. Give us that time so that we can conclude the course. And following week, we will then go and separately, have the presentation on the Municipalities Act with the former Advocate General Subodh Kantak, and that we will then send you as a separate video for you to see whenever you're not getting sleep in the afternoon or something like that. And you have an extra glass of beer to cheer you up, and you can then listen to
that won't be a live session, Claude. That will not be a live session.
Pardon? It will not be a live session.
Okay.
It will not be a live session because we are just going to ask him to talk on it. Maybe there will be myself and 1 or 2 other people will be at the end of his talk. We will ask him. So you can come. I mean, those of you who want can come to his office. If there's anybody really dying to come to his office, we'll be going. But I don't advise in this COVID thing more than 2 or 3 people coming. So Karan certainly can come because he always asking questions. So it's good to have him there. And anybody else, maybe Rui also can come. Those who are got questions to ask on the Municipalities Act and what to do with these councillors, apart from putting them in the Panjim, whatever canal they have, the Panjim canal, dumping them there with all the sewage. Apart from that, if there's anything else you can do with them, you can certainly come. You can
Panjim Special Protection Act.
And then we will give you the whereabouts of mask and everything, listen to him. And it's not going to be on Monday, probably be, Tuesday, Wednesday or something like that, when he's free. And then you can ask him questions. So it look like, it's a thing. And then we will put this also on the YouTube. And then we are editing all these things together, and then you will have them as a permanent package from the course. So thank you very much. We are closing this session now, and see you tomorrow. Yeah, bye.
Thank you.